Okay, thank you for your permission to record this interview. Yeah, firstly, I would like to say thank you to you for taking time to meet me today. Um, I know you are busy, and I am fortunate to have you in this interview.
Not
Um,
really. Pleasure is
yeah,
mine
thank you.
for this.
Okay. In this interview, I am a student of the Curtin University, and I'm conducting research on the topic of Indonesia's green investment destination. So in this interview, I would like to have your view based on the topic.
Okay.
And this interview will take around 30 to 35 minutes. And all of the information you share will be kept confidential. And this interview also is conducted under the Curtin University Human Research Ethic. So all of the ethic will be imposed on this in this interview. During the interview, you can skip any questions if you do not feel comfortable answering, or you can stop the interview at any time without any consequences. So before we start, I would like to ask you if you have any questions with regard to this interview.
So far, no. So far, no. Pleasure is mine as well. Thank you, Mas Asro, for
Okay.
reaching me out. Yes, please do start the interview.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Let's start with the Indonesia's green investment environment. So when we talk about green investment environments, what comes to your mind? What is your
Um,
view?
I
Yeah.
think, yeah. I think we need to divide this into the supply and demand side.
Hmm.
So from the supply side, green investment is really welcome here in Indonesia. We
Hmm.
have abundant natural resources. We have geothermal, which is currently being developed. We have wind, water, and solar potential for
Yeah.
the project development, as well as another green green investment friendly projects,
Okay.
which are now quite an issue. Such as I can say about numerous sectors. Take an example of the waste management,
Okay.
right? Which is, that's an issue and then requires investment funding.
All right.
So I think it also needs to be solved. So we are not solving the investment issue, but
Hmm.
also solving the municipal issues
All right.
or the government issues in Indonesia with that kind of investment. And from the supply side, and I
Hmm.
think currently, government is very supportive on that. Several supports has been conducted, such as
Hmm.
the establishment of the JETP, and
Hmm.
then all of the blended finance initiative that goes
Okay.
into de-risking the project or making the projects more feasible.
All right.
And we also know that the launch of IDX carbon market, the launch of the carbon economics value. I think
Hmm.
that also highlights the government effort on greening the infrastructure projects.
Hmm.
And we can see also the kind of effort for greening the power sector, such as energy
Hmm.
transition mechanisms, and also uh, green-based electricity project, I would say. So I think
Hmm.
the demand is there and the supply is also there for government to make that happen. So yeah, we are now, that's not perfect. We're currently, I think, enabling the environment for that green investment.
All right. Very interesting that you perceive the green investment environment in the perspective of demand and supply. And I see that you also indicate the opportunities of the investment. Um, with regard to the opportunity of green investment, do you think that Indonesia has a significant number of scalable green investment? I mean, scalable is that the size of the investment is sufficient enough to make the project commercially attractive for the investor.
Mm, mm, mm. Not mature enough, I guess, but I think
Okay.
currently the government is putting quite a numerous efforts to
Mm.
that. I think currently with the changes of the administrations, new government took over the places, and then there are a new green initiative being launched by the government.
Mm.
I think Indonesia is now, on the way on that phase. But I think a lot of effort has been taken to conduct the replicable pilot project, I guess.
Mm.
So with all these efforts, there is facility and
Mm.
then a subsidy and then another supports. I think government is now paving the way for the pilot project. I mean,
Mm.
trailing the new projects to be replicable and
Mm.
then to be more you know scale to be able to be scale up
Mm.
currently in the future. So I think we are now in the phase of the developing the pilot
Mm.
projects.
All
Namely,
right.
you can name it the solar power sectors and then the hydrogen carbon capture storage and
Mm.
then the carbon sellings the waste to energy projects, as well as the like green infrastructure projects. But I think, yeah, it has a good potentials, and we are not quite there yet. But yeah, I think we are on the way to you know replicating the pilot projects.
All right. When you say the pilot project from the governments, do you find it easy to find information of the pilot projects as your investment opportunity, or do you find it difficult to access the information?
Think there the information is there and
Mm.
quite easy to find, but then there are a lot of resources that
Mm.
sometimes the investor is kind of confusing, like
Mm.
which are the sources that we should
Yes.
rely on.
Okay.
um, from the investment standpoint, we have the investment agencies web that contains of the
Mm.
project. At
Mm.
the same time, if we're talking about green projects, then there are green book published
Mm.
by Bappenas like every
Yep.
years, consists of the in potential projects to be invested.
Mm.
But then uh, infrastructure in general, we have like Ministry of Finance has their
Mm.
own project information systems, and then probably if we're talking about PPP, there are also the Joint Office have their own information system, and then Ministry of Public Works also have their
Mm.
information system. So I think
Mm.
the
Okay.
information is there and
Okay.
quite easy to find, but then how to really tailor that into like one reliable sources that can be accessed by everyone, every like inter-minister or inter-government collaborations on that, I think will or say that we can enhance the role of investor enable agencies such as for general investment, we can enhance the role of the BKPM,
Mm.
or from the PPP standpoint, we can also enhance the role of the PPP Joint Office as
Yep.
the lead of this interministerial coordinations, to
Mm.
provide the same informations. And I think not only stop on that,
Mm.
the government itself currently, I think I'm quite optimistic because we, annually we have the infrastructure week,
Yep.
just held by the coordinating Ministry of Infrastructure, where they showcase all of the potential projects to the investors. And I think for the every project preparations, they have the market soundings. And I think
Mm.
it is stated on the regulation, so that the regulation
Mm.
itself enable us to really consult with the market
Mm.
when you're doing the project preparation and have their feedback
All
on
right.
enhancing your feasibility study. Yeah, I
Yep.
think yeah, the information
Okay.
is there, and I think quite
Okay.
rich to fine, but I think how to uniformize the information, I think
All
that's
right.
the next step forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting when you say that investor may need to tailor those information for their needs. How do you feel? How do you see the credibility of those information? So, I mean, how do you see the reliability those information provided by the government so that you are feeling confident to move forward to invest in the green investment?
Well, specifically, I think, yeah, for sure. As an investor, I think for the IDB, when we channel our loan,
Hmm.
we are also doing our due diligence to
Okay.
really check
Hmm.
to really check the projects. But I think for from the kind of de-risking facilities that the
Hmm.
government provided, we know the Ministry of Finance has the project development
Oh,
facility
yeah.
grant. Then for another, blended finance has been goes to the project preparation size. I think that
Yeah.
kind of de-risking efforts also kind of comforting, quote
Hmm.
unquote, the investors to really, I think the information provided by this project being developed is quite reliable enough,
All right.
because who's behind there,
Hmm.
like if
Okay.
the project is backed by the such facilities, and then the investors would
Hmm.
be more comfortable to invest. But I think not every project has that facility, right, or get that facility.
Hmm.
So I think from the investor point of view, we also really need to do uh, conduct the due diligence. But for
Oh,
sure, the risking facility
yeah.
makes our job easier on
Okay.
you know on assessing the project. Yeah.
Interesting. And you also just mentioned about regulation. I think I'd like to go to that topic. When we talk about the clarity and the consistency in investing in Indonesia, how do you see the policies and the regulation framework in the
Okay.
clarity and the consistency of investing in the green infrastructure in Indonesia?
Like I think, as I previously mentioned,
Yeah.
we're not quite mature yet, but I think we are on the
Mm,
way.
okay.
Um, I think numerous effort has been taken, such as
Mm,
if we know that the specifically for the green investment, we know that OJK,
mm,
the state's financial authority, has been
yep.
launched the green taxonomy, or
Okay.
a green taxonomy document on clarifying really business groups, that has been classified as green. So I think
Mm,
that information is really useful for the investors, uh, not only avoiding greenwashing,
mm,
but also really takes the informations of the business that you'll be conducting in Indonesia.
mm,
So kind of have the government blessings on green.
mm.
I think on top of that, also I think Ministry of Finance has also launched the ESG manual on the project
Yes.
preparation. So we really need to, and I think the homework is now in the implementation phase, because the
Mm,
regulation has already been launched, the manual is
mm,
there, and how that being implemented, I think
mm.
that's also our homework for the
All
futures.
right.
Yeah, so that is from the green investment standpoint, but
Okay.
for the investment standpoint in general, I think it's quite clear.
Okay.
We're talking about the market development on PPP.
Mm,
The regulation is there from the presidential regulation, and then Bapenas, and then sectoral
mm,
regulation is there.
mm,
I think from the policy and regulatory framework, I think we are quite available,
mm,
right? And I think on every 5 year, 5 or 6 year, those regulation has been updated to
mm,
really enhance the
mm.
process and the mechanisms. Um, Specifically, I think for the procurement, you also asked about the fairness of the competition for the investor itself. I think we
Yes.
also have the regulations on that, uh, 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 for ensuring the investors to invest. But I think specifically on the green investment, I would say we still have, not to say any issues, but also how to really debottleneck the PLN as the off-takers,
All
because
right. Mm,
there's several sectors.
Yes.
namely the hydropower, solar
Mm.
panel, and then waste to energy project are really depends on the because our regulations only allows PLN as a single
Mm.
off-takers. So I think that regulation is that mechanism is also now being discussed and also
Mm.
now being debated by the government on because I think the issue is there because
Okay.
it really relates to the bankability of the project itself because
Okay.
that is also one source of revenue and investors needs to be really convinced by that regulation. So I think
Okay.
government is now working on that. I
Yeah.
think we know that there's the establishment of the waste task team under the coordinated Ministry of Infrastructure, and then the PLN itself, I think,
Mm.
is really seriously taking these issues.
Okay.
But I think that's the key.
All
That's
right.
also the key for the green infrastructures,
Okay.
specifically on the power sectors.
Okay. Thank you. You said also about implementation. How do you see the ease of the procedure to invest in a green investment? Do you think that it's easy? I mean, it's something manageable for the investor to follow, or it is complicated? How do you see it?
Um, What I would view this issue in a general
Yeah.
standpoint, I would say that's it. In regulations, in policy frameworks, the regulation is there. But I
Mm.
think on the implementations, we still have homeworks to solve,
Okay.
such
Right.
as, for example, the inter-stakeholder coordinations. I
Okay.
will I will put the PLN coordinations into that pocket.
Hmm.
Uh, Also one of the intergovernment,
Hmm.
coordinations. Uh, I think for the investors, the enhancement of say for specifically PPP, we know the PPP Joint Office or
Yes.
BKPM,
Hmm.
Investment Agency. I think that agency needs to be enhanced on their role
Hmm.
on helping or supporting the investors to coordinate with the interministries
All right.
because our problem is sometimes the sectoral minister have their own regulations and they're not
All right.
coordinated with
Yes.
the central
Okay.
one and then I think it's really hard to investor to really navigate who to meet, who to
Hmm.
discuss,
Okay.
and who to decide what to decide.
Okay.
So enhancing the role of the
Okay.
kind of PPP joint office
Hmm.
or the investment agency, say BKPM, on really providing the or Bappenas
Hmm.
or Ministry of Finance to really help the investors navigate these
Hmm.
mechanisms. I think it really helps, to really government to
Yeah.
know who do what and then who to meet and then who to discuss on their mechanism for the investments.
Okay. Um, Given that the complexity of the coordination and different perception you just mentioned, and also things related to the institutional aspect, how do you think that would affect the investor confidence to invest? Do you think that disincentivize investor to come in, or it or it is still uh I mean investors still maintain some confidence given
Yeah,
that
yeah.
complexity?
I think this issue I think is not only experienced by Indonesia, but
Hmm.
I think we have several projects ADB outside Indonesia, and I think they're having similar issues as well on how to coordinate. But
Hmm.
as I mentioned before, they have their main institutions,
Hmm.
leading institutions such as BKPM or
Hmm.
VPJNFH really help the investors to navigate. But I think to this incentivize, I don't think so because
Okay.
what investor really seeks at least for our point
Hmm.
when we are channeling the loans where we are financing the projects ADB on loans is
Hmm.
really the projects and then the clarity of the regulations,
Okay.
which I think the regulation is there.
Hmm.
And I think what differs Indonesia with another country is that we have the government institutions that covers that provides the guarantee facility against
Mm.
sovereign risk, right? Because I think for the foreign investors to really invest in one country, they're really worried about the sovereign risk that they cannot be covered.
Mm.
For the from the investor standpoint, like demand or project risk, I think they understand. I mean, they have
Yeah.
been playing this over the years, right?
Yeah.
But then the governments, the sovereign risk is that something that they cannot control.
Mm.
So to have that one institutions that really first this sovereign risk, I think it's really enhancing the credit
Mm.
for the for
Okay.
the investor standpoint, I think.
Okay. All right. Interesting. You have touched the race issue. Um, and you said that investor actually they have their own experience how to manage those risks, right? But for some risks, such as fresh exchange rates that needs special measures or attention how to deal with that. With regard to those risks, how do you see the potential return of investing in Indonesia can compensate those risks and make the the opportunities that we just discussed still attractive for investor?
Mm, mm. I think for the specifically on the returns,
Hmm.
I cannot have a general view because it
Hmm.
really depends on the sector as
Okay.
well as the
Hmm.
project itself. For example, if you're talking about the like waste to energy sectors or the power sectors or
Hmm.
the like hydropower or solar project, it really depends on the willingness of the PLN as the
Hmm.
off-takers, as we really rely on that decisions to to put our investment revenues
Hmm.
as a return. So
Okay.
it really depends on those power sectors. But um, I think what investors is worrying is that change sovereign risk
Hmm.
such as changes of regulations
Hmm.
in water sector, changes of tariffs. Um,
Hmm.
I think in health sector, we can name the changes of the BPJS regulations by the president itself or another risk. I think that kind of risk, which is currently covered by the government,
Hmm.
I think that is a really good sign, a really good
Hmm.
signal for the investors that you don't have to worry about the sovereign risk because it's being taken care by the government. But then
Okay.
for the project itself, I think you really need to look at specific sectors and then specific projects.
Hmm. All right. So, with regard to the government support for the race that you just mentioned, do you consider that as a sign of government is welcoming investor and facilitate investor to invest
Yes.
as part of the policy and the regulation and the regulatory framework?
Yes, yes. I think
Mm.
yeah, for sure, yes.
Mm.
Because the support itself is not only on the implementation part, which is the guarantee, but
Mm.
also on the project preparation side. Uh, several supports to de-risking the projects
Mm.
in the name of you can name it the project preparation, the viability gap fund,
Mm.
and then another support support on the tipping fee probably on the waste sector. I think that's also a sign of the government to really uh, 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 to really keep the project on the low risk base to really attract the investors. But
Mm.
I think, yeah, back to my previous point that I think that's how we creating or we structuring the pilot project that hopefully
Mm.
can be replicable to the future that
Mm.
really can be copied by another project to be multiplied
Mm.
by another projects. I think uh, in the sense of we're trying our paving our way to that
Mm.
to that directions with all the support the de-risking facility and then another supports I think which really need to have the kind of project success I think
Mm.
I think investor there are some sectors that investor really wants to see the success of the project
Mm.
first, the
Okay.
pilot first, be replicated. So, okay, do you have the success story on this? Yes, then we are willing to invest. I think those exposed of the pilot project, I think is really the key also
Mm.
with all that supports, with all that the risking facility
All right.
for the investors. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Very interesting. Let me get back to the policy and also the regulatory framework that we just discussed. You have explained uh, many of your views on that aspect. With regard to the opportunities and also the homeworks. You said like there's something on the implementation state that needs to be improved. Um, considering those things, how would you explain the the confidence of investor to invest with regard to the all of these the facts of the policy and the regulation framework in investing in green investment in Indonesia.
I think for the confidence, I think yeah. Should, I mean for the confidence investor is the green.
Mm-hmm.
There are some investors that go with the pilots, but I think
Mm.
other is still wait and see,
Okay.
seeing on where this is going
Mm.
because the regulation is there, and then how is the implementation. So,
Mhm.
but I think the intention is there because for example, ADB has the carbon development on mangrove project.
Yep.
Then we receive a lot of uh, not to say formal letter of intent, but
Mm.
positive signals from the government that they are really willing to invest in the green project in Indonesia. We have the Red Plus, we have mangrove sectors, we have blue carbon economy.
Mm.
But I think uh, the the they are still wait and see from the investors
Okay.
on that. But because the regulation itself, I think is in the phase of is just launched, but then
Mm.
investor really need to see the implementations. For example, we see the enforcement of the carbon economic value, which is the regulation is there. It has been
Mm.
ratified by the government,
Okay.
but then we are not quite see the implementation itself, whether
Mm.
it is successful or not, because that creates demand, right? So
Mm.
when those carbon regulations is really enforced, and then it
Mm.
creates demands for the company to really, okay, we really need to trade off those outside carbon that we produce, and then
Yeah.
it creates demand on the carbon market. But for the international, I think for the voluntary market carbon, there are a lot of projects in Indonesia that has been financed by the international investors.
Mm.
But then for the mandatory market, which
Mhm.
is regulated under the Ministry of Environment, I think it's not yet. It received low intent from the government
Mm.
because
Okay.
you know the investor really wants to wait and see. But
Okay. Mm.
but if we say that the voluntary carbon market
Mm.
is alive,
Yeah.
so I think it indicates that the demand is there. But
Mm.
then how the government can take those demand, can utilize those demand into the governed
Mm.
one within the
Mm.
regulations, I think that needs to be seen by the government
Mm.
for the implementations.
All right. Uh, with regard to the investment in infrastructure, we have discussed some aspect in the perspective of green investment. Um, I would like to know your view if we compare between investment in green infrastructure and non-green infrastructure. How do you see
Mm.
those two sectors different in opportunities
Yes.
in the and also raise return and also the clarity of the policy and also the regulatory framework. How do they differ in your view?
So yes, with that in mind, currently I think we are in the phase of proving that green investment is more reliable or more
Hmm.
benefitable than the
Okay.
usual infrastructure projects
Hmm.
because uh not well, I'm not saying non-green infrastructure, but the general infrastructure,
All
yeah.
right.
For
Okay.
example, for sure, the green infrastructure have more channels of funding.
All right.
Yes, and I think the government trends
Hmm.
currently is now moving into the kind of green investment. With all of those policies being published, with all of those manuals being published
Hmm.
as well by the government, I think the trend is there. The
Hmm.
trend is moving towards the green investment
Hmm.
or green financing. But then to really prove that the green uh, the green investment is more benefit
Hmm.
from the general infrastructure investment.
Hmm.
I think that needs to be I haven't seen any, any
Hmm. All right.
clear research or paper indicates that
Yes.
view. But I would see really the implementation of ESG as the risk management. So
Hmm.
if you're looking the green investment as the kind of risk management, which is identifying risk related to the associated risk with the environment, social, and
Hmm.
then governance, um, and then try to mitigate that before
Hmm.
the project implementation. I think that's also a good sign
Hmm. All
of
right.
I think that's also the practice of de-risking activities, which is also can be more benefit on the project, I think.
Okay. Oh, one last question, Mr. Billy. I know you are now in Asian Development Bank and you have your um, investment horizon in not in one countries, right? You have it also in other country. For example, in some countries in Asian. I would like to get back to my first question. How do you perceive the Indonesia's green investment environment in comparison with other Asian countries? Do you see they are equal in opportunities, or do you see um, more confidence towards Indonesia?
Hmm. I think I mean, for the so we have actually investment rate.
Yeah.
IDB has
Okay.
classified countries based on the investment rate is fixed. For example,
Hmm.
Indonesia is classified within the I really need to check on that, but
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, it's on the B plus.
Yeah.
So we are below like Malaysia, countries like Malaysia, Japan, and then
Hmm.
Korea. But then we are above countries like Bangladesh and then Pakistan and then etc. I think
Hmm.
that's and then for that group of classifications, we have different rates, which reflects our confidence in investing
Hmm.
on that in that country. Probably for the I think the C grade investment
Hmm.
uh, mostly poor countries, I think ADB works in reverse to the commercial banks because
Hmm.
I think for that point of view, commercial banks usually set the higher rates
Hmm.
because
Okay.
they have higher risk. But I think we as the development bank, I think working in reverse. So mostly
Hmm.
on poor countries, we provide more concessional, longer terms, longer tails with also the lower rate compared to
Hmm.
the commercial bank. So the lowest the grade,
Hmm.
the lowest the rate. So I think that
Okay.
is how we work. But specifically on the green, the
Hmm.
green side, I think I would say that. Indonesia is more way forward on
Okay.
the policy and regulation frameworks because we for say for the carbon standpoint
Mm.
we already have our regulations on carbon
Mm.
economic value,
Mm.
while in other countries I think they don't have that, so
All
that
right.
they have not established the mandated carbon
Mm.
market, just the voluntary one.
Mm.
But I think the progress of what Indonesia has achieved in terms of regulations and policy, I think
Mm.
it's quite forward compared to
Okay.
another countries in Asia. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was very interesting
Thank you,
from
Mas.
your explanation.
Hope
Yeah.
that I can
And
support.
yeah, thank you very
Hope I
much.
can help.
And that was my last question in this interview. Thank you very much for again for taking time for this interview. And in the future, if I would like to have your also your support if I need other
Yes, please.
information to follow up this
Yes, please.
question. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, please. I'm really happy to help and to
Yeah.
support Mas Asrul. And yeah, good luck for your study and send my regards to your supervisor.
Okay.
Hopefully, you can